So we are just so incredibly fortunate to have Shola Richards with us today. He agreed at a request that I put in a call to him. He agreed to come up and do our keynote and to do double duty to put on a breakout session as well. And he's doing all of this for nothing. Yeah. How about that? So talk about kindness, generosity, right? He lives it. He lives it. So I'm really, really thrilled to be able to reintroduce him to you for this session this afternoon. The spirit of Ubuntu, 8 keys to creating a workplace culture of unstoppable positivity. Shola Richards.
I hug people a lot. You know, it's funny in that you said that I did this for nothing. Honest to God, this is going to sound a little bit cheesy. There's my thing, what I want to do, what my purpose on earth is. I'm here just to serve people. This being with you here at Berkeley is all that I need. I need nothing. If I get one person to walk away like, I'm going to make my workplace a little bit better, I'm good. That's all I need, man. I'll take it. I'll take it. So no, thank you, Annette. She's like Oprah. She calls, I'm coming. So that's a done deal. So I am still Shola Richards, and I now have the honor of talking to you about something that's called Ubuntu. It is a West African word. My name, Shola, is actually West African, and a lot of people talk about the different meanings. One meaning that's hooked on to me is bravery, so I like that a lot. My name, believe it or not, Shola, actually autocorrects on most iPhones to Ebola. Struggle is real, man. And I didn't think I actually told you guys. So I work at a hospital. So my role at UCLA is I'm the director of training and organizational development. So I'm working at a hospital where I'm sending emails on my phone. I'll be right there, assigned Ebola. They're like, no! Don't come. Stay where you are. So I'm not here to talk about how the late Steve Jobs' phone mocks my name. What I do want to talk to you about is about this word Ubuntu. And it seems like a big talk, right? I said on here, 8 keys to creating a workplace of unstoppable positivity. Like, what is this guy talking about? Well, I keep my promises. So let's talk about what this means. First of all, there's a quote that's really big for me. It's a quote that I love, and I hope that you love it as much. And since my name is West African, Africa will be making a few appearances in this workshop. I hope you don't mind. Starting with this quote, it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This quote is the purpose of my life. I believe we can fail alone pretty easily, but we can do so much more together than we ever could separately. And there is a word in West African culture that I want to share with you. The word is called Ubuntu. Now, unless you're familiar with African culture, you're like, what is this word? Maybe you heard of it before, but if you haven't, the word Ubuntu loosely is translated to mean I am because we are. Allow me to share with you a very true story. I want to say 2014, so 3 years ago, there was an American sociologist that went to a village in West Africa. And he's just visiting the village, studying the village, trying to learn more about it. And one day, he noticed a group of African kids playing outside. No different than the kids on the screen behind me. Just happy African kids having a wonderful time. The sociologist went up to these kids and said, hey kids, I want to play a game with you. I have a bag full of American toys and candy. I'm going to set it down next to this tree, okay? In a moment, kids, I'm going to say, ready, set, go. And then when I say go, kids, you can rush this bag of candy and grab as much toys and as much candy as you want. It'll be like a free-for-all. How do you feel about that, kids? Now, these kids have never seen anything like this before, right? It's like, yeah! They're so excited. It's super cute, right? The sociologist sets the toys and candy over here. All the kids are over there. True story, by the way. And he says, all right, ready, set, go! And it was in this moment that something magical happened and where our journey together in this workshop will begin. The second that sociologist said go, not one of those African kids moved a muscle, not one of them. And they stood still for like maybe 20 seconds. And one of the kids got in front of his friends, looked at them, and said the following. Ubuntu! 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 And he goes back to his friends and he holds his arms out like this. And each of the kids interlock hands and they slowly and calmly walk to the candy and toys together. I already told you I have two little girls at home, 8 and 5. It's not going down like that in America. Trust me. You already knew that. But something amazing happened. Something amazing happened. The sociologist asked the kid who started that movement, what was that? I've never seen anything like that. What just happened? And the kid who started everything said something so wise beyond his years. He said, listen, there's no way that I can enjoy the candy if the kids who helped make me who I am couldn't enjoy it with me. I am because we are Ubuntu. I know it's a different workshop. I changed my clothes, if you noticed. And I had to. It's hot up here. So I was like, you know, does my keeping it real thing transfer over from the keynote to this? Can I still keep it real? Good, okay. So I heard this story, like I want to say maybe a year or 2 years ago. And man, the first time I heard this story, I was like, yeah! And at my job, as I told you before, I work at UCLA Health. So I do leadership development and training for the staff at UCLA Health. So I heard this Ubuntu story. I was like, man, I got to roll up on some nurses real quick. I got to share this story. And I did. A room of nurses about the same size as this room. And I shared my story. I was like, yeah, Ubuntu, yeah. And the nurses in the room were like totally unimpressed. They were. It was really troubling to me. And I remember one particular Valley girlish nurse, for those of you familiar with LA, know who I'm saying that. And I'll never forget her because she had long blonde hair and she kept flipping her hair as she was talking. And she raised her hand like, Shola, okay, Shola. Cute story, okay, but newsflash, buddy, we're not in Africa, okay? What do you want me to do if there's a nurse manager opening? Should I hold my competition's hand as we apply together? Ubuntu! 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 Stop giving me made-up African words, Shola. Give me something that works! I was like, Dios mío. What just happened? So I was thinking to myself, believe it or not, I had some empathy for this woman. Because I shared my story of Ubuntu. I was like, yeah, and I just like ready to walk out of the room. But I didn't give her anything practical. I didn't explain why the spirit of Ubuntu matters, how we can actually make this work for all of us. And I didn't tell her. So in my time with you, I'm going to tell you what I didn't tell her, that she, hopefully, if she can catch this video later, and watch it and learn what I should have told her back then. One thing happened that was really cool. That's a little bit outside of the 8 keys I'm going to share with you. That little boy, in that moment that he said Ubuntu, actually unveiled the secret of leadership. If you're ready, I'm going to show it to you. And by the way, it's not some weird Zen riddle. There is no secret, huh? No. I hate it when people do that. No, legitimately, there's a secret. And I need you to take a look and just breathe in, man, because this is going to get kind of intense. It's one slide, and I'm not going to say anything. I just need you to take a look at it, and this is what leadership is all about. Are you ready? Okay, I know. A lot of buildup, right? Okay, a thumbs up, so we're good. Okay, here it is. You know it's good when people pull out their cell phones, take pictures. It's like, oh. Yeah, I want to snap too. So here's the thing. When you look at this picture, there's a big difference between being a boss and a leader. There's a lot of people who use their positional power, right? Who think because their title says boss or it says manager, supervisor. Oh my gosh, let's be real about something. If having a positional form of power makes you a leader, then we're in trouble. Manager, director, CEO, president. It takes more than just having a title to be a leader. That's not what leadership is. My gosh, seriously, if you think about it, me having a badge that says director on it doesn't make me a leader any more than me going to the mall and buying a Golden State Warriors jersey makes me a professional basketball player. It's about so much more. It's about getting people to follow you because they want to, not because they have to. And the question I'm going to ask you all here is a pretty tough one that I want you to think about for real, for real. I want you to think of your boss right now. It might be awkward if he or she's in the room, so just keep it moving. But I'm not going to stop. Think about your boss right now and ask yourself this question silently and answer it silently, ideally. If your boss did not have his or her authority over you, would you still choose to follow that person anyway? I'm going to say this again. I know. If your boss did not have his or her authority over you, would you still choose to follow that person anyway? If the answer is no, then chances are there's something that's happening around leadership that's not really working for you with how he or she treats you. My challenge for us is this: to create leaders where people want to follow you, not because they have to, because let's be real. Having a title has nothing to do with leadership. It's about having people serving, and you're serving them. The leader is a servant, if done correctly. And you know this is true. There's people who don't have titles who you would follow anywhere just based on who they are and how they show up every single day. And there's some people who have very high fancy titles, have more degrees than a thermometer, but guess what? They're not leaders. So let's talk about how we get there. How do we actually make this real? How do we do this? So let me ask you a question. I'm not going to ask you rhetorically. I actually sincerely want an answer, because I'll have you prove this. I want you to think of someone who brought out the best at you at work. Ideally here at UC Berkeley. Someone who brought out the best in you. Like whenever you work with this person, oh my gosh, I love working with him or her. Someone who brings out the best in you at work. And my question for you is this: what are some of the traits of this person? What is this person like? What does this person do consistently that makes it so you love working with that person? Does anyone have someone that you can think of? You don't have to call them out by name. Please, hi. I love that. What's your name? Lauren. That's what we're talking about, right? That support, that trust. Like, I hired you for a reason. I know that you're smart, and I'm going to have you go out there, and guess what? If you make mistakes, like all humans do, that's why they put erasers on the ends of pencils. The idea is that you made a mistake. I trust you. It's okay. We'll work it out. Knowing that you have someone as your back makes a huge difference. Thank you, Lauren. Anyone else? Someone brought the best in you. Hi. Yeah. Wow. What's your name? Tina. That's huge. I'm assuming she knows this. Oh, nice. But what you said was so interesting. She even, oh, sorry, yeah, I should be doing that. So, I know, that's like facilitator 101. So, what you just said, oh yeah, there she is. So what Tina said, and I'll go back to what Lauren said earlier too. So what Tina said is she had a direct report who had such a high level of commitment, would always be someone that she could count on to do the work well, and Tina's direct report actually inspired her to also come back and continue to work there because of how professional and great she is. How'd I do, Tina? Good? Okay. Lauren, there she is. Lauren earlier, she was talking about how her boss, was your boss, right? Always has her back, and she has the freedom and the flexibility to make mistakes, knowing that she will always have her back and be able to work around whatever challenges are happening. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. What's your name? Say it again. Harumi. Thank you. Anyone else? Someone brought the, hi. I'm sorry, I'm enthusiastic. I can't help it. Hi, I can't help it. I love that. What's your name? Say it again? Caredwin. Got it. Coming. Caredwin's boss. So the cool thing about her boss is that she is super familiar with the software. And the boss decided to be like, listen, I want to step back, allow Caredwin to take the lead because she has more expertise instead of being the boss. It's like, listen, I'm the boss. I have to do all this type of stuff. And it allows her to bring out the best in herself. Thank you. Let me flip the question and make it easier, potentially for some of you. So think about someone who brings out the worst. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? You come into work and you just lock eyes with this person, and inside you're like, oh, dang, she's here today! Ah! I mean, you're doing that inside, remember? Not like out loud. So just check it. So think about this person for a moment. What type of trait, what does this person bring out? What does this person do that makes work hard? And Berkeley, keep it real. Hi! Poor communication. Oh, yeah. It's like if you have a boss and they like tell you, you have a one-on-one meeting with her or him, and you leave and you think you know what you're doing, and you hand it in like, what was this? I didn't ask for that. And you're like, but you did. No, I didn't. What are you doing? Poor communication. That's a huge one. Tell me your name again. Susan and I took a picture earlier together. It was very wonderful. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate you. More. Hi. Micromanaging. Yeah, talk to me about that. Why does that make you, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but just to make sure, why do you dislike that so much? It's just that you never trust you that you are going to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. So everything you do, he or she will have to look at it first, you know? And that's real. What's your name? Janet. Hey, Janet. It's funny because you can hear an audible gasp in the room when you said micromanagement. There's a secret about micromanagement that's kind of tough that a lot of people don't really talk about. Most people, when you think about employee, most people get promoted up into leadership jobs who frankly aren't ready to lead people, right? So what ends up happening is usually these people are very good at their job, the work that they need to do. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, because you're good at your job, let's make you the boss. And they now become the boss. And they don't have the people skills to maybe lead others, and now they're doing less of what they're good at and leaving that up to people. Maybe the boss is maybe better than everyone else at it, so the only thing they're good at is the work. So they're going back to micromanaging people, staying on top of them because they don't know how to lead because no one's taught them how. We think, oh, hey, because you've been here for 10 years, you can be the boss. And that's why I have an army of micromanagers all over the place without giving them the skills. Y'all said I could keep it real. Thank you for that, Janet. And I see your hand up too. Hi.
I've had one of the boss of the picture with the mission with the boss on top.
Oh, yeah.
I have had one of those.
Yes. What was that like?
Oh, horrible. I mean, you get emails forwarded to you and literally with misspellings, inaccurate information, because it's just push it,
Mm-hmm.
We literally jumped through hoops to do work we thought we were supposed to do, found out there was nothing to do. This is just the icing on top. I'm going to stop there.
But that would be, but you don't even, I mean, that's plenty, right? That's so demoralizing.
Nightmare is what it is.
Of course.
Support each other as a team, and we avoid our boss.
Yes, I forgot to repeat again. So yeah, we're talking about like people get in the way, create extra work because they're not paying attention to detail. How long, now, what's your name, by the way?
My name's Kim.
Hey, Kim. So when you think about this type of boss and working for this person, how much harder was it for you to do your work having to report to this person?
I don't even know how to answer that because I'm so new here.
Yeah.
Very would be the answer.
No, again,
But
that's a legitimate answer. Here's the problem, and this is what I wanted to bring up for all of us. I mean, of course, there's also people too, and I'm sure some of you are thinking, probably one that's really tough. Or do you guys deal with people at work who are like chronic complainers about like life and just everything else that's going on, like drama? You know, never, right? Never. This also makes it hard to do your work, right? We're dealing with people who are just like, and by the way, it's okay to vent. Venting's fine. Venting's healthy. It keeps you sane. But the ones who complain are just like, everything sucks. I hate this job. I don't want to work at Berkeley anymore. I'm so tired. You know, and they constantly complaining, you know, those type of people. And it's so funny because I think people who complain consistently, I'm talking about chronic complaining, chronic, like every single day, creates such toxicity on teams. And it's weird because we're getting paid to do some jobs, right? So it's kind of like if I went home tonight, when I go home to LA, if I told my wife, like, hey, babe, I was at this like UC Berkeley event and like people are raising their hand and asking questions. Tired of it, man. She'd be like, you're tripping. That's what you're here to do. But I want to be real about what you guys said. Think about the negative folks that you're dealing with. The ones who make it hard to do your job. What was described? The ones who make it pretty easy to do your job. There is a very common thread that I want to be very clear on. There's a lie that you've been told here at Berkeley. Yeah, I'm going to tell you the truth. Someone's got to do it. The lie is that the most important thing to your career success is your technical skill. I've been doing this for a while. I've been asking this question for a while. You know what? I have never heard one mention of technical skill when I asked for what brought out the best in you. Never. I never heard someone say, you know what? This woman was amazing at Microsoft Excel. Pivot tables for days and days and days. No one does that. No one talks like that. It doesn't make any sense. That's so weird. What people do instead, I'm talking about they supported me, they cared about me, they had my back. On the flip side, these are people who are really negative and they make work hard. It's always interpersonal skills. So let me be very clear on something. The ones who succeed, and if you want to have the best opportunity to succeed, it's the ones who embrace, and the only thing that's going to separate you, by the way, from the people in front of you or beside you or behind you, is your willingness to embrace, or unwillingness in some cases, the interpersonal skills. This is so critically important. You may be sitting here and thinking, cute story, Shola, but guess what? I work for someone who has no interpersonal skills and she seems to be doing just fine. Explain that one to me, Shola. Explain that. Gladly. Glad you asked. You know, that person that you can think of who's made it pretty far with zero interpersonal skills, that's like a person who's driving a car with the parking brake on. The car still moves, mind you. It will still move. But the amount of damage that it comes to the car and the ride that they're taking becomes so much worse. So much worse. And it could be so much easier. And how much farther could they have gone if they just understood the importance of caring with others with mutual respect and kindness? Today, I want to focus in this particular session about why this matters so much. I mentioned a little bit earlier in the keynote about incivility and why these interpersonal skills matter so much. I want you to take a look at this list of incivility in action and tell me how many of these are sadly familiar to you at work. It's like a greatest hit list, right? You saw it, like, yeah, that one, I know that one. I've seen that one before. Is this familiar to you? Does this happen? It does. So what troubles me deeply is that everyone's like, you know what, this is great and all. You know, I don't have time for this incivility stuff. I got real work to do. This kind of stuff can wait. This civility stuff can wait. Got stuff to do. If you're in that camp, or anyone on the video, I'm going to point at the screen. I've always wanted to do that. If anyone watching this video is thinking that this stuff can wait, here's some statistics that might change your mind. Did you know 12% of employees said that they left their jobs due to workplace incivility? People just outright leave. And you lose, you know, by the way, the employees that you lose to workplace incivility, not like this should be surprising to anyone, these are the good ones. The ones who are like falling asleep at work, the ones who are like, you know, hiding in an empty broom closet, you know, that person's sticking around, right? It's the one, that's the problem. So the good ones are like, I don't have to put up with this. They leave. Worse still, 25% of employees said they took out their frustration on their customers, or students in this case, after dealing with workplace incivility. So it's interesting, the challenge of this, how frustrating this is. So when you're getting all this stuff heaped up on you, you take it out on the students, or on your colleagues, or other people as well. Equally as bad, 48% of employees intentionally decreased their work effort after dealing with workplace incivility. So when people are being talked down to, or just having horrible, rude, curt emails, like, I'm not gonna put in as much effort. That's the reality, and I see a lot of head nods. So a lot of people, unfortunately, are in that place. I've been there too. And 78% of employees said that their commitment to the organization declined due to workplace incivility. There's a risk in avoiding this. There's a risk in saying this stuff doesn't matter. Because if we choose to ignore this, like I said, you're left with the people who don't care. I think there's a lot of honor in realizing that you're done with the job, in quitting and leaving. I don't think there's any honor in realizing that you're done with the job, in quitting and then staying. That's real. And you know a lot of people who do that. So my hope is I want to introduce you to the 8 keys that can hopefully fix all of this. Oh my gosh, such big talk. I know. So in the past decade, I spent quite a bit of time researching high-functioning teams, everything from people in Silicon Valley to folks over in Washington, D.C. and Homeland Security to elementary school teachers to healthcare folks, and come up with a list of 8 keys that the high-functioning teams do consistently. After I show you what these keys are, I will then give you a little exercise that you can take back to your teams in order to build up these keys to create a more positive workplace. So, in no particular order, let me jump. Actually, no, it is in order. I did it in alphabetical order, so it is in order. So, key number 1, accountability. Here's the problem with accountability, and there is a huge problem with accountability. Because most people, when they talk about accountability, they do this thing, which is so not accountability. Hi, you know, you're doing that thing again that we agreed not to do. Can you stop doing that? And you're like, sure, Shola, thanks for bringing it to my attention. I'll stop. I'm like, see, I held her accountable. Huh? Come on. That's not accountability. In fact, if you want to call it that, that's the lowest level of accountability there is. Accountability is what we call a willingness to take ownership. This is the most important of your behavior, of your words, and of your attitude. This is what's most important and it's challenging for a lot of people. High functioning teams, well, sorry, let me go back to low functioning teams. What low functioning teams do often, they blame a ton. That's her fault. Oh, they always do that in senior administration. Oh, this department never gets it right. UC Berkeley only has 3 speeds, slow, stop, and reverse. Here we go again. And it's like, and it's tough. So when you think about that, that's what low functioning teams do. High functioning teams do something very different. They're jumping in to find a way, how can I own this? They're quick to own, they're slow to blame. Like, no, wait a second. The reason why that went wrong, I should have asked for clarification. I'm so sorry that didn't go. I didn't ask for clarification. And you're like, no. I easily could have gone and done some research before we even met, but I didn't do that. And then someone else jumps in like, well, maybe we should have more meetings. I should think about some ways to make sure it doesn't happen again. Everyone is trying to figure out what part of this we play in making this a better team. But you know what? I can almost guarantee you that some of you have some folks on your team who blame others a lot and make a ton of excuses. Do you have someone like that? Got a couple head nods. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So I got something for you, okay? So if you happen to have someone on your team that blames, and by the way, I'm talking work team. This could go for your significant others too. It's fine. Anyone you want. So if you have someone in your life who blames others consistently and makes excuses, I'm going to give you a question. This is a very powerful question. Use this lightly. Do not start flinging around like Halloween candy. You need to only use it maybe once or twice, but it's going to change your life and hopefully that other person's as well. The next time now, by the way, this has to be someone who habitually blames others and makes excuses. The next time he or she does this, I want you to ask this very powerful question. So what part of this situation do you own? For those of you who didn't know what I did, I dropped an imaginary microphone onto the stage here at UC Berkeley. What part of this situation do you own? This is such a powerful question because it's like, oh, no, I mean, it's going to have them interrupt the pattern of constant blame slinging and excuse making. On your teams, this makes a difference as well. If you're a leader, I mean, only Tina obviously is one, but she has a wonderful employee on her team. But if there's other people on her team that aren't as wonderful, that question can be really useful. The key on high functioning teams is a high level of accountability. More on this to come. Secondly, is attitude. This is your habitual way of thinking. High-functioning teams have a very can-do attitude, and obviously the other folks who don't have a very low-functioning attitude. And what's tough about attitude is this is the person who you bring to work every day. The person who has, in fact, let me ask you this before I get to that point. Is there anyone in this room who does not have drama in their life right now? So, okay, so right now. You're good? Okay. So Sharon's there. I know, she deserves applause for that. So right now, you're good. Just today. Just today. So Sharon's good. So we have one who's good. So for the rest of us in the room, so the rest of us all have drama besides Sharon, which is good. So since we all pretty much have drama, then guess what? Our drama does not make us special anymore, does it? I know, that's tough to hear. So since we all have drama, it's not necessarily the drama that's the issue, it's how we choose to deal with it. So we all have these challenges where maybe, as I said in the keynote, where maybe life will punch you in the mouth. But there's a problem if life punches you in the mouth and you get knocked down. That's fine, that happens. The problem is if you choose to stay down. Is someone like, man, you got knocked down in 2013. Like, come on, you can get up now. This is what high-functioning teams understand, is about attitude makes such a difference. That willingness to bring your best self to work habitually. Low-functioning teams don't. They bring their drama to work, they push it off on everyone else, and they're like, yeah, you know what? I don't care if anyone likes it, I'm keeping it real. And they do these things that affect the team. When high-functioning teams have high levels of attitude, positive attitude, it's like saying, the difference between saying, oh my gosh, this is horrible, versus this is horrible, and I will find a way to make this work. It's a slight difference, but it's a life-changing one that high-functioning teams do. It's not minimizing the fact that something horrible happened. We acknowledge that. Yet we understand that we also have the power to fix it. In my line of work, I do positivity. This is my thing. But what so frustrates me is that people are like, oh, you're the positivity guy. Oh, I get it. You're the guy who says, I have cancer. And you're like, like, I don't know what you're talking about. That does not sound like positivity to me at all. Like, that's not what I talk about. It's understanding that maybe you had something horrible happen to you, but understand that you can find the power to make it meaningful and actually to do something to make it work. That's what high-functioning teams do around attitude. Third one is communication, which is always so important on teams because so many teams are so bad at it. They're horrible at it. We just talked about this. The emails that are spelling errors and things like that, like communication. Has anyone received an email before from someone and they just completely like just jump into what they're talking about now? Like, hello, Shola. You know, those things are like really curt, rude emails. That's just one example. There's many more, by the way. We already talked about this. When people communicate with you, when, you know, my mom would always tell me, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Where people communicate to you in a way that's disrespectful without that mutual respect and understanding. Low-functioning teams do this. You know what's worse? Low-functioning teams are the people who will be kind to the chancellor, but rude to the janitor. Those people are horrible human beings. Can I say that? Okay, good, because it's true. That's the problem with communication. Low-functioning teams who are low-functioning communication, what they do is they assign levels of respect of how I should communicate to you based on your title versus on who you are as a human being. To me, that makes no sense. I mean, is the left fielder more important than the third baseman? Is your right eye more important than your left foot? Is the trombonist more important than the person who plays the cello? No, we all play part of this one big system. This is why communication is so important. High-functioning teams communicate with clarity. That's a big one. They're concise. They do it with respect. They do it often. There's no such thing as over-communicating. Letting people know what's going on is always important. This is what high-functioning teams do in terms of communication. And I'll tell you why. I had a leader in one of my sessions. I was talking at a different university, and there's this guy who was getting really red-faced as I was talking. And I'm talking positivity, and he was not feeling me at all. He did not like what I was selling at all. And I'm talking about, hey, you know, it's important to communicate with that respect. And he's like, and I'm like, is he okay? I'm like, then finally his hand shot up, and he's like, you know what, Shola? Or actually, he mispronounced my name. You know what, Shiloh? I remember that because he was really mad. He's like, you know what, Shiloh? I don't get all this stuff. Sometimes you need to communicate. I'm not here to make friends, man. Not here to do that. Not here to do that. Here to get the work done. And I was like, okay. I don't know if there's a more toxic belief in the workplace than I am not here to make friends. There's a lot of people like, whoa, if you make friends, you're not going to take your work seriously, bruh. No, that's not true, actually. A friend is, by definition, look it up, is someone who you like and respect. That's it. It's a good thing to have people on your team who like you and respect you. This is an important thing. The ones who say it doesn't matter are the ones who can choose to treat you however they want, because why would I care about you as a human? Because I'm not here to make friends with you. And if you think about this from a practical standpoint, it makes sense because people who like you will help you. Think about this. Think about the person at work who you like the most. If she or he reached out to you and said, hey, I need some help. Like, yeah, I got you. Whatever you need. But think about that person at work who you dislike. And she or he reaches out to you like, hey, I need some help. You're like, yeah, about that. Yeah, I think Susan's available. I got a lot of stuff to do. And then, that's it. Communication is important. To do this, to create an environment that's healthy. However, a lot of times what people are afraid of when they don't communicate well, or it turns toxic, is this, which sadly reminds me of my childhood. We see this a lot. In case you're wondering, gossip. Just here to help. Gossip. The unwillingness to talk to people. A lot of people, it's so much easier to talk about people than talk to people. And unfortunately, this is what happens in a lot of workplaces. I'm actually going to give you something that's going to help. If you have gossip on your team, and who doesn't? They're talking about you right now while you're here. Here is what you can do if you have gossip on your team. It's actually relatively simple, and I don't want you to, you're going to hear this and laugh, but when I explain it, it'll make sense. Starting this week, I want you to go back on your teams, and I want you to institute something that's going to be called Gossip-Free Friday. Let me explain. Sure, I want the gossip to stop every day. Hold on. One day at a time. This upcoming Friday, if you say, hey, we're going to do something on this team, we're going to call it Gossip-Free Friday. On Fridays only, you're not allowed to talk about anyone in a negative way if they're not present. We're not talking about anyone else when they're not there on Friday. If you have something bad to say, save it till Monday. Something interesting happens, and I've seen this on teams that laughed this off and then tried it. What happens on Friday is this, invariably. Someone comes into work, the gossiper, she's like all annoyed, like, girl, look at her, why is she wearing that dress? She's not 20 years old, who does she think she is? In that moment, you're like, hold up, wait. It's Gossip-Free Friday, we're not doing that today. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we're not talking about people today. Oh. So what else do we want to talk about? Oh, okay, well, and then they have to change the subject. Know why this is interesting and why this actually makes such a difference? Because people go and fall into grooves of behavior in their brain, habits, for lack of a better way of putting it. It becomes unconscious to talk about other people until someone takes an opportunity to interrupt the pattern. Soon as the pattern's interrupted, you start realizing, oh my gosh, I do that more often than I think. And it brings awareness to something that was previously unaware because it was subconscious in some cases. And it starts the cycle of changing cultures and changing behavior. Conflict, or communication is a big one. I jumped ahead because number 4 is conflict. High-functioning teams actually embrace conflict. There's a wonderful quote, and I can't attribute who it's to, but she said, if 2 people agree on everything at work, then only one of them is necessary. That's an interesting quote. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but what's interesting about conflict is there's some folks, sadly, and we probably know these people, who if you raise an opposing view to him or her, like, you're challenging me? I told you to do that. Why are you questioning me? Your job's not to question, your job is to do. That's what low-functioning teams do. They have conflict. And what's worse, negative conflict, what's worse too, is low-functioning teams stay stuck in negative conflict. And they don't let themselves get out of it. I'll give an example. I had an opportunity to have a speaking engagement for a hospital on the East Coast. And they were struggling with conflict. And there's this team, I'll never forget this team, it was a large group of nurses in this East Coast hospital that must go nameless. And this group was so mired in conflict. And I walked into the room, and the entire room was like divided upon racial lines. It was crazy. So like there's like the Filipino nurses were on one side of the room, black nurses on one side of the room. There's only like one white lady in there, she's all by herself. Like no one wanted to talk to each other. I walked into the room, I had to pull up the dead spirit of Martin Luther King for a minute. I'm in his house right now. So I was like, you know what? Just because someone doesn't look like you doesn't mean that they're against you. Oh, and here's the real kicker. Just because someone looks like you doesn't necessarily mean that they're on your side. We have to take this further and deeper and more meaningfully. Because when I went to that room and I talked to them, they said something that is the prototypical example of a low-functioning team. Nurse raised her hand like, yeah, so Shola, there's a nurse in this room that must go nameless. Yeah, right? We've had conflict before, and I'll work with her if I have to, because I can promise you, I don't care what positivity you're talking about, I will never speak to her, ever. And I'll just go around this whole work, my entire career, pretending like she is dead. We will never work together. And the whole room was like, mm-hmm. That's true. And you wonder why they called me in. This is the problem. That's a low-functioning team who's not willing to get past their drama. High-functioning team says, listen, I know we've had some drama, but we're going to find a way to fix it. They do not let drama and conflict fester. They have the courage to be like, listen, I'm going to walk first. Can we fix this? Can we make this better? That's what high-functioning teams do, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Key number 5 is recognition. High-functioning teams do this often. They recognize others for the great work that they're doing. I've been here for a long time. I've been doing this for a while. I have never heard someone's capacity for recognition to fill up. Can you imagine that? So like, can you imagine someone saying, you know what, if another person here at UC Berkeley says how great of a job I'm doing, how hard of a worker I am, and how wonderful employee I am, I'm done, I'm out of this place, I'm sick of it. Right? Said by no person ever. They're like, oh my gosh, they finally acknowledged me. High-functioning teams do this. The low-functioning teams are like, I don't recognize people. Do something meaningful, then I'll recognize you. Or they pull out the whole, oh, the millennials, they just want a trophy for showing up. They're making all these excuses as not to thank someone or recognize them for the great work that they do. And here's why this is so scary. For the left-brain people who need a statistic once in a while. More than 60% of employees seldom if ever receive personal thanks. That's horrifying. And I guarantee you there's someone in this room who's like, yep. Like, I don't get a thank you, I don't get recognition. I'll tell you something, a perfect example of what recognition looks like. Oh gosh, like last week I was in LA and I was doing some grocery shopping. I was in the supermarket, oh sorry, I'm an East Coast guy, grocery store. And I was in the grocery store, and when I was there, I went to Vons, and I was in Vons, I was in line, and I got to see what recognition looks like. There's a gentleman who was bagging groceries, young kid, $1 million smile. This guy bagged groceries like Picasso would paint. It was so beautiful, and I love passionate people. I just love them. This guy's bagging his groceries, man. He's just doing it with so much energy, and I love watching that. I'm in line, right? And there's 2 people in front of me. There's one woman who's like incredibly grumpy. Like she is just not feeling it. She looked like she'd rather be waterboarded than be in line for another minute. She's like, oh, I just need to get out of here. I just need to get out of here. Behind her was a guy, he had his Beats headphones in. He's like oblivious to the world, you know what I'm talking about. And then me. And I saw his name tag. Kid's name's Javier. So Javier bagged the groceries for the first lady, and he's bagging the groceries, making sure the Raid bug repellent isn't next to Johnny's fruit snacks, you know, doing everything really on point. And he takes the bag and he hands it to the first woman, the grumpy lady, right? And he hands it, big smile on his face. Like, the woman, I kid you not, just grabs the bag, and stomps out of the store. Javier was shaking, like, whoa. But he's a professional. So he got back to his craft. So he's bagging the next guy's groceries. Mr. B, headphone guy, not even talking to anybody. Gave him the groceries, same thing. To snatch the bag out of Javier's hands. I'm now looking at Javier, and his shoulders are starting to roll over. His faith in humanity is like seeping through his pores at every second. I'm like, I gotta save this kid's life. So he bags my groceries slightly less enthusiastically than he did for the first two people, understandably. And he bagged my groceries. I said, hey, Javier. He's like, how does this guy know my name? Right, name tag. So I'm like, hey, Javier, man, listen, I want to thank you so much for bagging my groceries. You've probably been on your feet all day long. I want to let you know I appreciate what you do. Thank you for what you're doing. This young man looked at me like I sprouted a third eye in my forehead. It's like, it was simultaneously the most beautiful and saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. I walked out of the store, I look over my shoulder, I see this guy. He's got his shoulders back again. He's got the bass in his voice back again, but all he needed was someone to say thank you. This is what we don't do so often. We just assume they already know. They already know. They don't know. And just by taking the time to thank someone, but doing it in a meaningful way. Don't be like this, like, hey, Annette, last Thursday? Awesome. She's like, what in the heck happened last Thursday? So like, that doesn't move the conversation forward. You have to thank them specifically. And for those of you, if that didn't move you, how about this one? 77% of employees said that they would work harder if their efforts were better recognized and appreciated at work. I can tell you right now, I will work harder. I will work harder if you appreciate me. It doesn't say that 77% of employees would work hard. That's kind of weak. They'd work harder. This is the number one thing that increases discretionary effort, the ability to recognize others. Make sure I'm good on time. Oh man, I gotta hurry. Key number 6, role fluidity. This is the big one. Role fluidity is about, let's put it this way. Have you ever had someone say, that's not my job? Yeah, so clearly that's low functioning team stuff, right? Role fluidity is like, I'm here to support the team in any way that I can. That's what role fluidity is. But teams that don't do this, like, that's not my job. I'm not doing that. He'll do it. I'll give you an example. I'm a huge sports fan. So if you're not a sports fan, I'm going to use a metaphor or an analogy. If you don't follow, I'm going to use football. If you've never watched football or don't understand football, I will give you something that you need to know to make this work. Okay. There's a guy who has the ball. He's called the quarterback, okay? So he has the ball, and his job is to throw it to one of his teammates, who hopefully will catch said ball and run into the end zone where they'll score a touchdown. The quarterback has a line of big, burly men to protect him from the other team. They're called the offensive line. Their sole job is to protect the quarterback from the mean guys on the other team who are there to tackle the quarterback. That's all you need to know. Okay, so I've been watching a lot of football. Let's say, for example, the quarterback throws the ball, about to throw it. He gets hit as he throws the ball. The ball flips up, and it lands in the hands of the big, burly guy whose sole job is to protect the quarterback. I've been watching a lot of football, and I've never seen the guy be like, whoa! It's not my job, so I better pick that up. I've never seen that, ever. Know what you see? The quarterback gets the ball, he picks it up, he's like, uh-oh. And he's running, right? He's a big guy, right? He's lumbering. And maybe if he's lucky, he scores a touchdown. You know what else I've never seen either? The guy gets the touchdown, he's like, well, clearly I should be quarterback because look what I just did. They don't do that either. They just say, I'm happy to support the team in any way possible. Please.
For some reason, I don't understand why. I've never worked with payroll, but the questions I get that I can't help the person, I don't have systematic access. I don't have systematic. I don't work with payroll. I don't have help, etc. So that's a phenomenon I've always been puzzled by. I don't like saying no. I always want to say yes. And the best thing to do is say, I don't have this system access. I can go with da, 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 da.
And that's, by the way, No, I want to make sure that everyone heard that. So we're here. I appreciate you. So when we talk about when in this case, you don't have system access. So when people are like, I need you to help me, like, I can't because I don't have system access and I want to make sure I can. All we can do in that case is ensure that we give the warm transfer, the warm handoff to someone who can. The worst thing that we can do is like, I don't know. I can't help you. Why are you calling me? Like that, I mean, not saying you would ever do that, but like that's the thing. Like if I'm able to help someone, there's a lot of things that I can't do on UCLA's campus, a ton actually. And what I can do is find the person who can help. That is also a form of role fluidity as well, to find a way to keep this going, just not shutting it down and saying that's not my job, which is a huge part of it. Thank you for that. Number 7 is support. I already mentioned that some of you, we all have drama here, so the challenge of drama, but here's the real thing that's tough. Is because we all have drama and we all have challenges, we need people who can support us. People who are going to say, how can I help? High-functioning teams are always like, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? How can I help? Low-functioning teams like, you're on your own, figure it out. High-functioning teams are very supportive of one another. I'll talk more about this in a moment as well. And last but not least, trust. Trust is the highest honor that you can bestow upon another human being. A lot of people think it's love, and it's not. Listen, I love love, don't get me wrong, but it's not trust. I can prove it to you. I guarantee that there's someone in this room who has loved someone who they do not trust. Yeah. Trust is the highest honor. And it's interesting, I'm so frustrated that I couldn't get to this workshop, because there was a workshop that was here about the importance of trust and how to create trust in teams. Like, oh, I wish I was there, because I'd love to learn a lot more about it. But from my experience, what I've seen that creates trust are 2 things. 1, integrity is doing what you say you're going to do consistently, and also a form of benevolence, caring about other folks as well. Those 2 things create trust so quickly. The ability to be able to do what you say you're going to do and walk first. These, my friends, are the 8 keys of Ubuntu. And these keys can affect your team. But I want to talk to you before I show you how. One of the things that I think about often when I look at these 8 keys is because I'm from the East Coast, I'm from Massachusetts to be specific, and a few years ago, I'm sure you can remember, there was the Boston Marathon bombing. And after the Boston Marathon bombing happened, the city of Boston got together and said, we're going to be Boston strong. It didn't matter if you're a gay, straight, Republican, Democrat, tall, short, born again, atheist, black, white, none of that mattered. The city came again and was Boston strong. They had a new shared group of shared ideals that they all worked together and fought for. What if just today, we decided to be Berkeley strong? Just today, we're making the commitment to these 8 ideals. And what's beautiful about this is we can talk about how to actually create the spirit of Berkeley strong. I'm going to show you right now how we do this. These 8 keys. Oh, there's a laser pointer. How fun is this? So these 8 keys, what I have done and facilitated for many work teams, you explain the 8 keys the best you can, and then you have the team vote. And if you want to be very low tech about this, you can go to Office Max or Office Depot, get those little colored dots, right? And put all 8 keys, sheets of paper on a wall somewhere. And have people take their dots, a strip of dots, and vote on which one of the 8, if we were to spend attention on this, would actually make the workplace better. When you do this, you will have 1 or 2 in the lead. At that point, you ask this very simple question. Let's use communication, for example. What can we immediately start or stop doing that will improve communication on our work team? And you ask the question of your team. And you have a flip chart. And you keep track of it. Like, oh, well, you know what? I really think we need to stop raising our voice at each other at work. I don't think that's appropriate. There's no real reason for us to do this. It needs to stop. All right, great. Raising your voice. This is, let's say communication was the highest vote. What else? We have to find a way to be more willing to accept critical feedback. Instead of taking it personally, we need to be able to communicate in a way that's healthy and not take it personally. As long as it's being delivered with mutual respect, the person should accept it. Okay, great. Communicate with mutual respect. You will have a very solid list when you're done. And you can do it for any of the 8. It could be trust, it could be attitude. But what's so beautiful about this, your team is the one choosing the biggest hotspot, the biggest challenge, the biggest area of weakness. And equally as important, they're the ones coming up with the solution. And it's so much easier to hold your team accountable when you get your list of things that they came up with, and when they fall short upon the agreed upon ideal, which happens, you say, hey, wait a second. I thought we weren't, why are you raising your voice? That's not Berkeley strong, baby. We're not doing that anymore. Ubuntu! The key, though, is to elicit the response from them. Bring those 8 keys up, talk about them, and then have them vote on the ones that are the biggest issues for them, the biggest challenge, and then have them be the ones who create the plan to fix it. Because when the plan comes from them, they're more willing to own it. And it doesn't matter if you're a manager or you're a line folk, per individual contributor, you can do this. But you have to overcome something first. Some of you are thinking this. You're already like, okay, this sounds great, but you don't understand, man. I got this guy. This is my boss. All right? You have no idea what I'm dealing with, Shola. This is like next level stuff, man. He's like the worst. I hear you, this Ubuntu stuff, but man, I don't know. That's what I'm dealing with. So, if you're dealing with that, and you're dealing with anyone who's challenging, I want to give you something that can help you. I want you to think about this. I want to remember something to deal with the real challenging folks. Just remember this. Something that's got me through really challenging people. Always, remember this, always choose your values over your emotions. Allow me to share. A lot of people are led by their emotions. Someone's rude to them, they turn into this guy. It's like, you know, ooh, you're in my face. Ooh, it's on and cracking right now. Let's do this. And to me, that doesn't move the conversation forward. So if we're going to be driven by our emotions, that's not going to help. The key is to be driven by something more powerful, by our values. That's what anchors us in. Your values, by the way, is the one thing that no one gets to touch. That is your thing. That's the one thing. It doesn't matter if you're your significant other, your boss, your colleagues, your kids. Your values are the one changeless part of you that you always own. My number one value, and this may sound silly to some of you coming from a 42-year-old man, is that I will always be the man that my mom and daddy raised me to be. Always. And you're wondering, why am I telling you that? Here's why. So, I go around talking about positivity and creating high-functioning teams. Do you think that I don't get some hate in this line of work? Because trust me, I do. Some of you guys just met me, probably realized something about me. I like to smile a lot. Come to find out that some people in this world don't like that so much. Who knew? I walk into places, I'm smiling, I'm walking in, that's what I do. I don't actually walk like that. And when I was there, I walk in to some organizations or some departments, like, here's what I hear. Someone, look at this dude. Corny, brother, look at him. So corny, look at this brother smiling all the time. He's so fake. What he's so happy about walking around with his slim fit suit on. And it is, by the way. But that's irrelevant. I was like, wow, that's not cool. So I learned something about my values in this moment. Because when I was getting bullied and treated poorly, I did what most grown men do when they're stuck. I called my mama. I called Mom. I was like, Mom, I don't get it, man. I'm struggling here. People are being rude to me. Should I stop smiling, Mama? Should I stop smiling? And she kept it real with me because that's what she does. She's like, baby, first of all, I spent a lot of money on those teeth, boy. For those braces, you better show those teeth off, boy. Duly noted. But then she said something that matters around the spirit of Ubuntu. She said, listen, baby, your job, and you heard this before, is to shine bright. And guess what, baby? Understand this. If you've got haters and rude people at work, the only way to get the haters to stop is to do more of what they hate. She's right. You want to go and change the workplace. You want to change your environment. But what a lot of people end up doing instead is they start thinking, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I can deal with this person. They don't like it when I smile. They don't like it when I'm helping the students. They think I'm over the top. Do more of that. Do more of that. Do more of that. And on the flip side, if you're like, okay, I want to keep this team thing going, but Shola, honestly, I have some really rude people, man, who are very mean to me and say some pretty hurtful things. I'm a sensitive person. I don't know how to get through this. If you're that person right now, I want to give you something that will stick with you before we leave. My dad taught me this, and this has stuck with me forever. He said this to me in his accent. He said, Shola, when someone is rude to you, boy, it's like they have a spear in their hand. They take the spear and they throw it at you, boy, in hopes to harm you, but the spear always lands at your feet. It never touches you, boy. However, if you choose to take the words personally, it's no different than walking up to that spear that's in the ground, pulling the spear out of the ground, and choosing to stab yourself with it, boy. Dramatic, I know. Why would you choose to do such a thing? The spear's in the ground. Walk away from it, boy. Walk away. Guys, and literally in like 3 minutes, this is over. And you guys are going to walk out and do what it is that you do. And you guys will walk out in the hallway, right? And you guys will talk. And you'll have the meeting. After the meeting, we talk about what happened inside the meeting. That happens at every single meeting at the UC. And let's say hypothetically you're talking about me. And you're out in the hallway, and you think I'm out of earshot. Like, oh my gosh, that guy's Shola, he's so corny. He's the worst. Oh my gosh, I couldn't wait for him to talk. Stop talking. I thought he was Mr. Positivity. Why is he dressed like he's going to a funeral? What's up with him? Oh my God. What if I was like, oh my gosh, like, you guys at UC Berkeley are so mean. I came all the way from LA to try to help you and give you team techniques to make your life. I'm all right. That was ridiculous, right? I mean, I fell on the ground. Did anyone think I stayed down on the ground too long? Right? Yeah. Well, how many of you guys have stayed down too long? When someone says something rude to you, I bet if you had the guts right now to lift up your shirts, how many self-inflicted stab wounds do you have? I can't believe that he said that about me, and she's so rude, and I thought we were friends. And what's so sad is that we often give our power away so easily to the people who we respect the least to determine our own happiness. It's crazy. They threw a spear at you, they missed. Oh, you missed. Let me go ahead and get that for you. Ah! We give our power away so freely. And oftentimes when I do this workshop, there's always some person thinking about the most toxic person in their workplace. Like, yeah, I like that whole Ubuntu thing and the kinds of truths and necessary thing, but guess what? You already think in your head, well, I know she ain't gonna do it. I know he ain't gonna do it. Or even worse, you know what? I'll change when she changes. That's when I'll change. I got bad news for you. If that's what you're doing and that person may not change, you're gonna give your power away and a happy life to someone who you don't even respect? If you want to change your life, the first step you have to make is to decide to stop giving your power away. You want to change your team? It doesn't matter if anyone else does it, you do it. That doesn't matter. I don't need to wait for someone to walk first. I get to do that because I'm in control of me. I'll never give my power away to someone I don't respect, or even people I do respect, because the power is mine. But the key is to understand what you value first. Because if you understand your power, you understand what you value. When I fell, I went back a slide. In closing, because I told you, in a minute, literally a minute, many of you are still thinking about that brick wall, the thing that's in the way. Like, yeah, I want to create the spirit of Ubuntu on my team, but man, it's hard. I don't know if I can do it. And you're thinking about all the barriers. In closing, I want to leave you with this quote from a man named Randy Posh, who, and for those of you who remember him or know of him, he had a wonderful speech called The Last Lecture, and I'm telling you, take a minute to look it up. It will change your life. This guy had pancreatic cancer, terminal, and he was a professor at Carnegie Mellon, if I remember correctly, and he gave a last lecture that he wanted to give to his kids, so his kids were very young before he died, to get to see what Daddy did for a living. And he passed shortly after the speech. And he talked about the brick walls. And he had an epic quote that stays up in my office to this day. Here it is. The brick walls are there for a reason. The brick walls are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. Because the brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. They're there to stop the other people. I can promise you, not everyone gets to climb the wall. Some people are going to get stopped. But when you think about the other people, do you know who those other people are? This person. If you want to change the world, I need you here. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I believe that we can go so much farther if we choose to be Berkeley strong. Thank you so much. Ubuntu! And thank you. Thank you.